Hi. The next section I'd like to talk about will be done in 2 segments, if not more, because I want to go into some detail about my own teacher, and I'm getting lots of comments on Facebook, actually more than on YouTube, about what I'm saying, and people are thinking that I'm knocking the Aikido versus Iwama Aikido. And yes, I know it's coming across like that. But as you'll see over the course of time, I'm hoping that it will come out as a more balanced view and an overall view. We all have opinions, and we're not in school anymore. Well, I'm not. And I don't need to please anybody or climb any mountains or have any awards given to me because I'm a good person saying the right things to the right people. So as I've said before, I just want to say it as it is, how I see it. I started in 1973, and Saito sensei started writing some books in 1973. To me, he was the only outgoing Japanese teacher at the time who wanted to share his knowledge with the world, and sensei's Aikido with the world. You can read about this, but if you haven't already, he made the first 3 books, and he was asked by the Hombu Dojo in Tokyo if he would stop writing them. This is what he said. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I'm just telling you what I was told. He was asked to stop writing the books because the world perhaps wasn't ready. So he stopped, but then again in 1975, if I remember correctly, he made another 2. He also made a cine film, and to me it was the only set of film that was released to the world that showed the weapons, and you could copy it. You could play the films like I did, go in my garden, copy them, come back in, look at the films, copy them. And I enjoyed watching his weapons. I didn't actually enjoy him as a teacher because he looked a bit of a monster, a bit of a bulldog really. Very powerful, very dynamic, but not what I thought Aikido should be, because my training was more about flowing. It was hard training, very physical in those days, more like fighting each other than flowing with each other. But I had the money, and I bought all his books and the films. This did not make me want to follow him as a teacher, but I wanted to follow the techniques. 10 years after training and being disappointed with my own teachers, I wrote to Stan Pranning. I don't have the letter to prove it, but I wrote to Stan Pranning and said to him, I'm looking for a teacher that I can rely on, that it will be the true Aikido. And I stated the name of a teacher that I really liked. He suggested that I didn't look to that teacher, but I looked to Saito sensei, because in his words, he said, this is the only teacher that I know who's teaching sensei's Aikido, that sensei taught in Iwama. Looking back over the years, I went to New Zealand in 1983 and met Saito sensei, as I've said before, At that point, he'd just retired from the railway, and he was going to be invited to start teaching seminars, and he had the time to do so. On that seminar, there was, I believe, 62 or 63 students. He was so delighted. He said it was a really big seminar for him. Many, many years later, I was on a seminar with him in Paris, and there were 700 students on the mat. He was always a giving person. He wanted to give a lot. He would make the students in Paris build a platform of mats so that he could stand on top of them, so that everybody could see. He wanted everybody to get to know his Aikido. He wanted to show everybody clearly, so he made half the people go and sit in the stands until he taught the first half, and then he taught the second. So when he was in New Zealand, I first met him. He was a very normal person without any, thought of him being a great master. He was just an Aikidoka from Iwama. Yes, he was the caretaker. He ran the dojo and was the head of it. But as a person, it was as if I was just meeting an everyday village person with nothing special about him whatsoever. But his art was phenomenal, smooth, powerful, always friendly, smiling. But when on the mat or in class, he was so severe and strict. He would shout at you, and he would grind you to feeling that you're worse than the dirt on the ground below you. Many times I've come off the mat almost in tears where he shattered me through shouting, saying that I was getting it wrong. But isn't that the way of the old masters, a true master? Break the student, rebuild the student, build the person, forge them into a new character, make them see that they must be humble, make them see that they must be strong. To me, these are the traits of a fine master. As the years went by, more and more people invited him around the world. More and more people saw him. Not everybody liked him because he was very critical. He used to criticise the Aikikai and say how they've destroyed Sensei's Aikido. The problem is when you're his student and that close to him, you also get a venomous tongue. And you start shouting at people, and you start going around on seminars, and when you see other styles that are weaker than yours in your opinion, you criticise them, you shout at them, you put them down. Sadly, this was not me, but it was me. It was the Jekyll and the Hyde. And I'd like to talk more about this in the next section, because I followed the art and I also followed the man. But once he passed away from this earth, I became myself, and that's why I'm talking to you today, to give you an opinion of what I believe and felt about Iwama, Aikido and Saito Sensei. Thank you. Please leave comments or anything more that you'd like to know below, and I will try to fulfill your requests and answer them.